We're all set.
We're going. So this is the guitar that we used as the primary lead instrument. I've had this guitar for many, many years and paid $160 for it. And I thought that was a lot of money at the time because Fender guitars were and are these mass-produced bolt-on neck. They're not crafted instruments. You know, they're just they're tools that have become iconic. And so this particular one, this is a Stratocaster, which is the most popular guitar in the world for a lot of reasons because it does a lot of things. It's kind of a Swiss Army knife. But the color is where blue and green meet up on the Pantone wheel. So there's blue here and there's green here, and it's right at the top. So in certain lights, it looks green, in certain lights, it looks blue. And my guitar, my luthier, his name is John Crothers, was painting a guitar one day, and he was painting this color, and I said, "What is that?" Because every time I moved, it changed color. And so that was the explanation of what color it is. I thought that the Stratocaster would be the right choice as a voice. It's got a good cry, and it feels emotionally like it was the right timbre as the instrumental voice for the song. So that's why it got used, and that's the one that was used. It's very good.
And then as it goes out at the end,
Right. So, we rolling?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a baritone guitar, and it looks just like it's a Dan Electro. It looks like a guitar, except it's tuned a fourth below a regular guitar. And this was the first instrument I heard because it has this wonderful gravitas about it. It's very low in pitch. It's electric, but you can even hear it acoustically. It's got a great rumble. And for the song, I just followed the voice. Have a bass. There's a synth bass that's playing, but what this did was giving my frame, and the other stuff is just all drywall. So this really got me rolling. So this guy went on first. There was a drum pattern. I think I started with that native chant in mind, because the way we work now as composers, we have pretty much any sound you can think of at your fingertips. The great tendency for a lot of people is just to try all this stuff. And I tried a couple things, and the first thing I tried, this was another wonderful coincidence or not, of how this project has come together. The very first couple of sounds I would check in the libraries, they were the right sounds. In regards to the way I created the background music for it, I felt like it had to have impact. So there's some low percussion pieces in it, that low rumbles that almost sound like explosions, but they're percussive. There's actually a sound that's called a dynamic crystal gamelan. Gamelan is a Indonesian instrument, but this has been manipulated in this instrument called Omnisphere. Thank you, Eric Persing, for making this wonderful software instrument. So it sounds like a singing bowl that New Age music has used for years, but it has a very different envelope to it, and it's very easily manipulated melodically. So it actually can hold pitch, and you can actually make fixed pitches with it and fixed lengths, and it feels very large because of that, and because it's not anchored in time. And it's supposed to make for a little bit of an uneasy listener experience, evocative, but also very challenging in that it's not a real toe tapper, but it does eventually get there's a sense of how the thing moves in time. My first introduction to the song was a very raw audio that was made on an iPhone as this a cappella, just voice. I think there were a couple of versions, and one had echo on it, and I thought, oh, that's good. The echo kind of informed me. So I listened to it, and I thought, okay, here's the piece. It starts here, it ends here. I picked up my keyboard or the guitar, and it was uncannily in A. He sang it without any reference pitch in the key of A. And I think we had talked about maybe trying it in a different key, and I thought, no. He sang it in A because that's where it happened. The other thing that was odd about it for me is that not only was it in pitch, but was also in time. He sang it, as it turns out, just about 82 beats a minute, which, having both in pitch and in time without any reference, is a very rare occurrence. Over the years, after doing things like this, where sometimes it's a struggle and sometimes it's really effortless, the effortless ones have a wonderful alignment going along with it. And I think maybe that's part of the story of what this film's going to be, hopefully, that just a lot of stuff's just happening and falling together in the right way. I laid his voice, his reference vocal in. I started working, I got a rhythm, got some instrument sounds that I thought would be complementary. I was sending references to Lindsay back and forth, and he said, oh, cool. But then he said, well, what if that opening line got repeated again after The Devil Was My Friend? In this digital world where things are so easily manipulated, I like to actually play things again or sing them again rather than just copy and paste them. But I tried it, and what happened was the part that was repeated, this opening line that was repeated, because the chords had changed in that newer section, it took on a whole different context. And I made a copy of that and flipped one of them backwards, and it made the hair on my hand stand up, on my arm stand up. And I called my wife and I said, listen to this. It sounded like an Egyptian instrument called a ney. So to put in a Native American chant or to put the Marines in marching would be too literal. But if I could make some of the percussion feel like Native American drums, or make some of the ghosty voices sound like maybe disembodied soldiers marching or something, then I felt that would be more successful in terms of letting the listener connect the dots rather than handing them the dots all connected. The F-18 we use literally, except that the recording was, it was pretty well recorded, but it was just a stereo mix and it didn't have any movement, so I put a Doppler plug-in on it so it actually dances across the speakers, giving it a sense of movement. And as the song ends, we have his voice, which came from the iPhone. We found a way to use his demo recording, a piece of it made it into the final. So just as you hear him say, "The devil dogs endure," the F-18 comes in and it flies across the sky. So I think that all those elements come together in a way that, to answer your question about the collaboration, it feels very satisfying to me, and I think for him as well. And that's again a very more rare than normal. A lot of times there's struggle with these things, and we just haven't had that. And it's very, very wonderful to have that. I started when I was young. I had my first record deal when I was 16. I was on Capitol Records, and it was. Well, how did Charles Dickens say it? It was the best of times. It was the worst. It was an amazing time because we this band I was in called the New Generation had these live shows that were really good, and then we got signed. And in those days of this exploding pop music scene, the executives, who were much older people and were certainly not in touch with, young music, they had no idea what was going on. They just signed these guys, money's to be made. And so we got signed and made a couple of records that didn't get released, but what it did for me, it got me thinking about being in the studio and, what does that do? And of course, in those days, it was a very, very, very simple studio. Essentially, it was microphones and mic preamps and very little signal processing. It didn't exist. It was of course analog. And so one thing led to another, and doing sessions and doing tours, a couple of more record deals, and I was always playing and singing and recording, and things all felt like they were all, the playing, the singing, recording, all felt to be equally related. And if as I fast forward to today, everything I do in music is based on that foundation, and just the fact that I've been doing it so long that it all feels very much just a part of breathing to me. I don't think about, like, when I chose the baritone guitar, it wasn't like, what guitar should I play? Well, of course, the baritone. It was like, oh yeah, you do that. And I think a lot of it is just having done it for a long time. So today I still work quite a lot as a guitar player. I play on some TV shows and films. I make my own records, and it's a wonderful time to make music, despite what a lot of people say about the business. The business is still trying to find itself, but in terms of being able to create like this and have the freedom to make sounds and to make finished pieces that couldn't have existed 5-10 years ago is tremendously exciting and rewarding to me.
That was great. Do you have anything that you feel like you need to add, or Lindsay?
Well, now that you've given away
How does he do? I didn't show anything though.
the secrets of the tune,
Yeah.
we're going to be either praised or torn apart.
I hope we get both.
Yeah.
I hope someone notices and bothers. Are you
Which
kidding?
is fine. But
Yeah.